Welcome to the Land to Lots podcast, powered by Launch Development Finance Advisors. And now your host, Carter Froelich.
Hello, everyone. This is Carter Froelich, and welcome back to the Land to Lots podcast. This is part 3 of our series with Paul Johnson, the former executive vice president of the Rancho Mission Viejo company, as well as Teri, Slavik, Suki, the founder of TNT Inc. In this episode, we will be discussing the visioning, planning, and executing of the development of a master plan community.
Paul laughs when I say this, but always asking, how might we? How might we look at this opportunity differently, but also responsibly so that it delivers the financial results, but also the placemaking and the human scale results that we know we want, that the ranch is very well known for.
Well said, and that's a perfect segue into the second, theme, if you will, of our conversation, and that is the soft infrastructure. We talked about the hard infrastructure, the physical plant, if you will, the land is the canvas. So now taking a lot of, Teri, what you do and implement that into the hardscape. How do you take, the community vision, the guiding principles, and then start putting that in terms of the social programming, the amenity package, the villages, how people live, work, and play, interact with one another, and then getting back to what Paul had said, hey, we've got to build some big roads. I got to put 4 bridges in, and that are connectors, but I'm also going to be putting in some things that segregate people and are barriers. How do you start building that coherent organization between the ranch as a whole, the villages as separate operating units, but keeping everybody connected? And there's a lot there. Let's just see where this goes.
Yeah.
I'll chime in, as need be. But Teri, you take off. Yeah.
I'll let Teri go first.
Yeah.
So I think the real opportunity here is to think about the spaces in between, right? And so they can be 6-lane arterial divided roads, or be they little remnant pieces of land that can be turned into something really special. But how do you know what this needs to be? How do you know what the community amenities and the soft infrastructure and programming needs to be? This is where you need to think about people as more than just demographics, right? So it's not looking at name, rank, and serial number, or just age and family formation and income, but it's looking below the surface at values, attitudes, behaviors, and motivations. And so finding from those data points, the insights about how people want to live, and then providing opportunities within the community infrastructure and the framework of the development overall to be able to support that. So one thing I always like to share with people, and when I say this, it's really kind of awe-inspiring, but the CDC says that 85% of our health outcomes are based on the built environment. 85%. So 15% of what happens to each of us is genetic. The rest, 85%, are based upon our built environment. So where we live, what kinds of schools are in the communities we live, our access to healthy food, our ability to have physical activity, our ability to walk places. That's a huge, huge, audacious responsibility, right? And so I think it's about thinking about people from all domains of well-being, and not just physical wellness, or also as a development company, not just thinking about our impact on the environment, but thinking about how do we create opportunities and understand the motivations and real true needs of the people who will live there, so that not only do we create great home product for them, but we also create amenities and opportunities for them to connect and live a healthier, better, and hopefully longer life. So it's about getting beyond demographics to key motivations and key reasons why, and then matching that up with the programming decisions that we make, so that the things that we invest money in, because as we said, we're not in the philanthropic business, right? We have to make money. We have to add more value to our land. The way to add more value to a master plan is by better understanding what people want, and then being creative in the ways that we deliver that. That adds value to the land, and ultimately it adds value and absorption to our home builder products.
And so we could go on now for another hour, because I really believe that once you get the physical plan well thought out, it is this soft infrastructure or social overlay, which really is the magic to making the place you're creating a demand generator. people are going to look to go find where they really want to live. And I think they've always done that, but perhaps the pandemic sharpened their awareness of what place is all about. So we've used Kantar and the Mindbase from day one. We know who's moving into our communities. We know the day they go on the interest list, we're sorting them out so we can see if that's changing. Every other year, they survey the entire community and ask the community, what are we doing well and what are we not doing well? What are we missing? What do we need? And we get a long list, and we're never perfect. We can never always respond to everything they want, but we're like Teri, we want the people to tell us how we make a better place. That's why they're going to move there. And then we take this playbook that I mentioned that came a lot from Ladera Ranch, and we know some tricks of the trade. You started their own community where they bought their house. We try to make that very placemaking, curb separated sidewalk, street trees, pocket parks, walkability, cul-de-sacs. We understand that, most of their life is spent in a couple of blocks of where they built their house. But on top of that, we then think about where's the bigger park? Where's the bigger recreation area? And making sure that it comes at all scales. And the great thing is in those 14,000 units that'll get built, those people have the right to go everywhere. Every club, everything that gets built, they're not segmented off from you only get to use that club. No, it's their ability to go everywhere and go enjoy, gives them diversity. We created a transportation system, Ranch Ride. So we have a transportation management plan where they get picked up, they get driven to events, it goes places because we got to get to the Gavilon brand. We're serving the 55 plus to the first time buyer, and we wanted to have a platform that really could do well for that entire segmentation of life from beginning to end.
And that's, for instance, I know at the Villages, you pay one in Florida, you pay one amenity
assessment
fee, and you can go everywhere. And so you'd said you wanted to talk about the 55 plus. So are you looking at 55 plus age restricted communities? And then how does that interplay with the or not, or what's the thoughts on that? And then how would that interact with the social fabric and the clubs, the use of clubs?
Well, this is the fun piece because we did a lot of work. This goes all the way back to when we opened up the first village of Sendero, we did that back in 13. But the ranch plan entitlement includes the ability to have 6,000 units of 55 age restricted. That decision to do that wasn't like, well, we'll get this right. I mean, it allowed us to get to 14,000, but once that decision was made, then we had to decide, okay, how do we do that? Do we do it in the conventional way that was happening back then? We just build, 1,000, 2,000 unit gated places, and the team said no. But I don't think that's the wave of the future. Teri was involved. We did a lot of research and asked the question, we called it active adult baby boomer, A2B2. What were their needs transferring to? And we discovered enough to realize they didn't really care about the gates. That was the older aging boomers. The new, younger, vibrant boomers were all about life, being connected, intergenerational, having their grandkids, their kids next to them. So we really have taken that idea. We started out a little conservative. Remember, coming out of the big depression, 2013, we took a less risky stance of building about 300 units. But those 300 units were very much connected in a center core of recreation. And it showed us that it worked. The 55 plus loved the fact they could walk across 100 yards, get to the all-age club, bring their grandkids. It gave them a reason to interconnect with the whole community. As we went to the next village, we took the next idea, which is about 150 units, and they are intermixed. No gates, no signage. They are just little pods intermixed amongst all the market rate product. And that sold like crazy. Now in planning area 3, with this large land form, we can do everything. We can do larger scale, ungated, 55 plus communities, bigger clubs. Everything's interconnecting. And I think it's been fun. The Gavilon brand, we took a big risk. We didn't know how it was going to go, but basically now, Carter, they're selling twice as fast because they're in 2 markets at the same time, selling to the 55 plus and selling to the market rate. So our execution is, we took a risk, but it's proved itself to be very valuable. And the 55 plus, I think, are enjoying this intergenerational lifestyle. And that led to our amenity design.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot who Teri might have told us this. Maybe it was Margaret Wild way back when. If we design our clubs and our places of gathering to serve the 55 plus, it will serve all generations.
That's right.
Yep.
So that became the focus. You have to realize we want the 55 plus to go everywhere. Therefore, everything needs to meet their needs. But in doing so, everybody can use it. It was a great aha.
Yeah, exactly, Paul. And Carter, if I can add just something for a moment, when we think about soft infrastructure or amenities or kind of the overall sort of feeling of a community, I think it's really important for those of us who work inside the development industry to always look outside in, not inside out. So what I mean by that is, how do the home shopping customers who visit us experience our communities? Because it's really easy to say, well, we're a master plan developer, so consumers will consider our community, but not everything else down the road. But I can tell you, having done research for so many years, consumers consider builder subdivisions, one single builder subdivision in the same consideration set they do a multifaceted, activated, and engaged master plan community like the ranch. So really, it's also all about story. And one of the things that we did at Paul's direction a number of years back was we actually went and met with all of our home builders silently. They didn't know we were doing this. And we kind of experienced the development of the story and how they experienced, how they told the story of the ranch. And what came to light was that there was a missed opportunity in a number of cases for them to be telling the full community story. And so when home shopping consumers came in, the questions were, how many bedrooms? What's your price range? And how many square feet? Well, that's extremely tactical and in some ways really off-putting. Having worked in this industry for so many years, I don't even know what square footage means, right? I don't know how to answer that question. What about what's your family formation? How do you spend your free time? Oh, you have children? What are the ages of your children? Are they involved in competitive sports? Are they involved in music? Oh, you have dogs. What kind of dogs? I mean, those kinds of questions get to the heart of the story. And at the end of the day, a home purchase is as much an emotional purchase as it is a financial and a physical one. And so I think, again, one of the things that the ranch does extremely, extremely well is understands that their competitive set is every other new home opportunity in that submarket area, and works collectively and again, collaboratively, there's that word again, with home builders and other marketing teams to make sure that that story is really strong. And out of that research exercise, we really came back with, and Paul will remember this, he challenged us to say, well, what's our why? What's our why? Why would somebody choose the ranch over anything else? And we came back and said, because the land is our brand. And how we bring that to life. Remember, Paul?
Yeah, the land is the brand.
So that's really key, I think, is how you tell the story is as important as what you physically put on the ground.
Well, and let me just add something. So when you say the story, I mean, the ranch itself has a very deep historical story.
That's right.
Maybe, and so are you weaving that in as kind of the overarching story, and then digging down into what you were just talking about, every home buyer's story? How do you live? How do you want to live? What is your family makeup? Is it a combination of all of those things? And you're okay.
Yes,
And
yes,
Yeah.
it is. So it's essentially taking the time to understand the human standing in front of you,
Mhm.
and then using the physical assets of the land that the ranch is blessed to sit on, and the development strategies and framework that's been created on that land to connect with that person in a way that matters most to them. So it's
Okay.
really about listening, observing, and treating the people that come into the ranch as humans, and then showing and demonstrating with pride and confidence how this great place that we've created really allows them to have a better life than they would if they had chosen to live somewhere else.
Yeah,
That's
it's sort
that's
of
what the research says.
two things. Once when we did this exercise with the builders, them not knowing we were doing it, it wasn't to punish them.
No,
It was to bring to them insights over how we as a team could all do better.
that's right.
And they really like, wow, this is not how. This is why we don't typically we get shocked to get criticized, not to get helped. We were doing it to help them help us. But out of that exercise came really a rebuilding of our entire website. If you go to ranchomissionviejo.com, that website is about showing the history and the lifestyle and the environment to which you're moving into. You pick the house.
That's
but
right.
This is the community that you are now becoming a part of. And it is very vibrant. PSNM did an amazing job. We don't use any models in our photography. Everything we put out are our home buyers. And many times they raise their hand. They're looking to be the models to do because they're so excited to be a part of something that's different. I always make the comment that when we started in Ladera, we started this idea. We learned a lot. We grew it to even another place when we launched Rancho Mission Viejo. We have an entire organization called Ranch Life, which runs the social activation of that community from day one. When you move into Rancho Mission Viejo or still back in Ladera, you are connected to the place well beyond your house. You probably know a lot of your neighbors. You probably go to a lot of events. You are actually in a social fabric that a normal city will have that occur, but it might take 10 or 15 years for that to really get in place. We try to bring it starting year one. And I think by the time you're there in 2 or 3 or 4 years, it's like, I know a lot of people. I know this place and they feel comfortable. It's about wellness, right, Teri?
Yeah, totally.
There's a sense of security.
Yeah.
They walk their dogs, they know where they're going, they got parks, they got clubs. Ranch Life probably today runs over 80 different clubs.
I think it's 100 actually. I think I saw 100 in it yesterday.
100.
Yeah.
So these are all clubs of all kinds of varieties, a lot of them 55 plus. But these people are gathering. And that's why we create the buildings and the spaces, because we then have them activated and enjoy it.
And the story piece, back to your question, Carter, which I think was a really good one. The metric that I always use with any teams I'm working with is I call it, if you cover up the logo, can you still tell what kind of place this is? Because I think in real estate marketing, historically, it's been a shopping list of expected things or an amenities arms race. And we talk about walkability and school ratings and all these things. And we use the same language to describe these places. And ultimately, if you cover up a logo, everything starts to sound the same. And again, the ranch is blessed with the natural asset of these 23,000 acres that are unlike anything else in the nation. And also, as Paul said, blessed with a really skilled team at PSNM that can take a look at that and can bring that story to life in a way that if you cover the logo, the rocker logo for Rancho Mission Viejo, and you read and look at that content, there's no doubt in your mind it can be nowhere else, which helps your home buying customer make a better, easier, faster decision to say, is this place right for me or is it not? And both answers are right.
Right. And 17,000 acres of that has been set aside as a conservation area. Is that the right number?
It's in perpetuity. It's in conservation.
And I like what you said, because I'm thinking in terms of front stage, backstage. I love to go to plays and you see the front stage and everything is, that's why you come. But behind the scenes, there's everything going on. The scenery's going up and the stagehands are running around. And what I heard you say, Paul, and Teri, is we have this overarching brand of the ranch. And Teri, to your point, if we take it away, when I'm at the ranch, do I know I'm here?
Right.
Does it feel different than other places? Am I in the front stage? And then to that end, when I go into the model, okay, that is a continuation of the front stage. And Paul, what you wanted to make sure is that your builder partners are the actors in the play are, we're all on the same script, which is adding to the betterment of all. This concludes part 3 of our series on visioning, planning, and executing the development of a master plan community. Come back for the next installment of this series, and if you find this podcast interesting or helpful, please share it with your colleagues or others that will appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening, and be sure to subscribe to the Land to Lots podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
You have been listening to the Land to Lots podcast with Carter Froelich. Follow us wherever you find your podcasts to never miss a new episode.